back to another episode of the Double V Sports Talk. I'm Brian Voles. My co-host and brother Matthew Voles could not be with us this evening. However, we do have a very special guest with us from McCormick, South Carolina. He is a South Carolina Gamecock, where he was a student assistant athletic trainer there before doing a internship with the Arizona Cardinals. He then later went and got his master's at North Greenville, where he is now the head athletic trainer. Ladies and gentlemen, James Anderson. James, appreciate you being here today.
Thanks for having me. It's an honor to be on.
Man, I'm excited to have you here. James and I have been good friends since he started at North Greenville, and I was coaching over there. I think you got a year head start on me at the school. Is that correct?
Yep, sounds about right.
Yeah, and then we try to golf as often as we can. Now that we're in different states, it's a little bit more difficult to make happen, but we found a way somehow, some way,
Keyword try.
and try. Right, we try to golf. Right, go out there and hit the ball and hope it goes as straight as possible. That seems to be the biggest issue.
Oh goodness.
Gonna give James a little shout out though. He's a master putter. I
Well, I'll take that. I'll take that.
But speaking at putting, we watched a tournament this week where these guys dealt with some of the toughest greens around at Augusta National with the Masters going on. How do you think you'd putt on those master greens?
Well, in order to put on the green, you have to make it on the green first. So that'd be my first issue. Is
Hey,
getting the ball onto the green. There isn't a flat lie at Augusta National, maybe in the clubhouse, but that'll
sure not.
be our first problem for me. But I don't know. I mean, they're fast.
They are
That day with
fast.
all the wind they had, they looked white. So
Yeah,
yeah, I don't think I would stand a chance there.
man, that absolutely incredible weekend to watch. I think the wind makes it a lot of fun. Anytime you see the best in the world having trouble on a golf course, I think it makes it a lot more interesting. I think makes it a lot more entertaining for the fans. Um, you
I mean,
think
it's something we can relate to.
absolutely, except no wind, right? The way that their ball was moving in the air with the winds, the way my ball moves normally, right? Like,
I saw
so,
Tiger slice the ball right,
oh man,
OB, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, I can do that without surgery."
hey, I'm basically Tiger Woods. Oh man, no. I think about the before he left and had to withdraw from Riviera. That day one there on that the 18th hole on Friday when he shanked it over into the tree. I was like, Tiger, one of us. Like, but then he still punched out onto the green, two putted for par. So I mean, maybe he's still better than us.
Oh, possibly.
Definitely. You could argue between him and Jack on who the go to golf is, but I don't think it goes past those two. You know, um,
And that's true. And also, I think about what generation you grew up watching golf, and you and I, we grew up watching Tiger Woods. We saw him in his prime. We see him now. I mean, he still made the cut and set a record 24 consecutive made cuts. And there are other players who are ranked way higher than he is, didn't play on the weekend in Augusta. So, I mean, that's a testament as to, yeah, the caliber that he and both Jack, they are. Wow.
yeah, no, it is absolutely incredible just to see him out there playing. And I know both of us growing up watching Tiger, being big fans of his career, following along. I mean, I remember I had a story pop up on my Snapchat of a highlight from when he won it in 2019,
Mm,
and then obviously remember him, I remember that chip in that he had in 2005, um,
yes.
with the Nike logo just showing off
Yeah.
perfectly before it dropped in. I think that was on 16.
I mean,
Um,
Wasn't that the best marketing campaign of all time?
100%. I mean,
Commercial, free commercial. Here you go. Just out here doing goat things.
GOAT being the GOAT, and coming in as the world number 784 ranked golfer today, going into the Masters and being able to see what he did the first 2 days, absolutely incredible with all that wind. Finishing one over, especially only playing in one tournament this year that he was unable to complete because of the flu. I mean, last tournament he completed was in December, and before that, I mean, there's only a handful of tournaments he played in last year. One of those being the Masters, of course, and he's dealt with a lot of injuries that we all know and can still appreciate what he has to go through. Somebody was talking about how for his 9:45 tee time on Sunday, he had to wake up at 3:30 to get his body prepared for a 5-hour round of golf of walking around over there. With your experience in athletic training and knowing his history from injuries and his history that he deals with on a regular basis, what can you say about the things that he is dealing with for the average person that just sees that he's had the back surgeries, he obviously had the car accident with the leg and everything else. What can you speak on to us average folks when it comes to figuring out what's going on with our bodies to what he actually is dealing with on the golf course?
Um, One thing about Tiger is he has a lot of injuries, like you said earlier. He's had a lot of surgeries associated with that. So you think about the different body parts that have had they had to have operations on. So he tore his ACL, trying to get out of a bunker. He's had back fusion surgery. He's also had the ankle fusion surgery. So
Torres
those
meniscus
are
on hitting off a golf cart path.
yeah. I mean, so it's just I mean those are a lot of injuries for any normal person to go through, but let alone to be a professional athlete and go out and perform. Even his 50% is better than some people's 100%. And so
Ain't that the truth?
it just shows a testament as to, like you say, he has to get up early and prepare himself. I watched after he had one post round interview. He said, "My team and I, we will get ready and we will be ready to go tomorrow." So, I mean, one, as you age, it's going to take your body longer to recover anyway. It's just a natural aging process. However, he has the best care as far as all the different athletic trainer, physical therapist, ortho surgeon, neurosurgeon, all these different professionals that are catering to him and fine tuning his health plan is just remarkable on what he's able to do. So you having your typical soreness after a round. Well, he's having typical soreness from not having range of motion. He's having soreness from having hardware put in his ankle and in his leg. And so it takes a long time to prepare the body. But a lot of those things that he's doing translates over to your normal athletes, who are not a high profile like that, and just your weekend warriors. You need to prepare your body, prepare yourself for physical activity. So whether that is general stretching, making sure that you're fueled, you're hydrated, and ready to go for the round. There are a lot of different things that goes into preparing yourself for physical activity, and for him to have to be able to do that and walk Augusta, I mean, that's just pretty remarkable. But
Oh, absolutely. So what can you speak about, with his with the things that he was dealing with the back? Kind of how does, I know he's had some back fusions, but how does that affect the golf swing?
yeah, so I mean, you can think of your back and how everything is comprised. So your spine, you can think of it as broken up into different sections. You have your cervical spine, that's right there, your neck, right below your head. You have your thoracic spine, that's your chest, and then you have your lumbar spine, and so that's your low back. So in layman terms, there. What is the role of the spine? Well, the spine is there to support the body, to protect the spinal cord, but an important role is to distribute weight throughout the body. And so that's why your the size of your spine is much bigger the further down you go, to your lumbar. So, and it serves a purpose. Also, within that, the spine is made to rotate. And when you fuse something together, you're going to limit that rotation. So, where are you going to get the rotation from? Well, that's when you have to get it from soft tissue. So, stretching your muscles, your tendons, all soft tissue anatomy is going to have to compensate for the needed rotation for a golf swing. So, golf is just a full body activity when you're swinging a golf club, and not being able to rotate your back, you're losing that rotation, and then not able to transfer the power that's needed, from the ground up to your body, to your torso to actually rotate. Those are just numerous challenges that are presented there as well. So it's something more average person, one, may not have the resources to cater to that type of energy, or two, have the time, let alone the money to do that. So pretty that'd be career ending for a golfer maybe not of his caliber.
Wow. And so, that just speaks volumes of him being able to go out there and still make the cut at the Masters. Obviously he struggled Saturday, Sunday. As those things start to get worn and start to get tired, why is there such a big difference between how he plays on Thursday, Friday compared to how he plays on Saturday, Sunday? If you're thinking outside the middle game, of course, because golf is extremely middle. But if you're just thinking about how the body wears over the weekend from 4 rounds of golf and having to walk, especially a place like Augusta that's all over the place and nonstop up and down, how does that change what he's able to do on the golf course? He obviously, I'm gonna use an example. He started um, slicing the ball, not my kind of slice, but a Tiger Woods slice a lot, especially on Sunday and a lot on Saturday as well. Almost like he wasn't able to get around as quickly or whatever it may be. And I'm not going to speculate on Tiger's swing, of course, but what are some physical things that could be causing that?
So just basic fatigue. The weather there as well was in the mid 80s, and so being in the South and having the humidity aspect to it as well, so you got fatigue. Your muscles are fatigued, like you said, mental fatigue, not as in mental toughness, but just the fatigue of going around the golf course, having to modify his entire swing, having to modify how he's walking. You can see his mobility has increased a little bit. He's able to get down and read some putts closer to the turf, something that he wasn't able to do. So that tells me that that ankle is stable. The ankle is feeling better for him to be able to do that. But it shows when you see him and also even other golfers, professional golfers, and they're walking the course, they're fueling their bodies, they're staying hydrated. They may have a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. They may have a Nutri-Grain bar or something like that, to give them fuel that they need. So one, he's older, so his body is going to his body is going to fatigue much faster anyway. But two, it's just a very demanding activity to do, to walk a golf course, but also to walk Augusta National. That's a lot on the body. So you got to stay hydrated. You got to make sure you're having carbs, so you can fuel your body for the duration of the activity.
No, absolutely. After I got to car accident a couple years ago and had to start seeing a chiropractor because of the issues I started having my lower back. They said that every golf swing you take is a micro trauma on your spine. And it was, there's major traumas and micro traumas. And, I never once thought of a golf swing as a micro trauma, but, when you're bringing out 180-mile-an-hour ball speed, I mean, that's a lot of violent rotation going around into that. And that's a lot of torque being put on your spine that is, obviously has the ability to twist and turn and bend and all that other stuff, but it's built to be straight and to give you support and not necessarily built for the torque of a golf swing. So I can only imagine once you start fusing parts of that spine together, how that can affect it as well when you already have weak spots in it. And then the things that he has to do on a regular basis, try to get those muscles warm to allow him to avoid the tightness. I think you saw a little bit, especially on the back nine of Sunday, when he was reaching into the holes to get the ball. He looked a little bit stiffer trying to reach down there. He's a little bit more ginger in his walk. He kind of had that power walk on Thursday, Friday that you expect to see from Tiger. And part of that was probably, when you're playing well, you obviously have a lot more confidence, and you obviously got to get a little bit more adrenaline going. And, it's easy to have a good time when you're hitting the ball well on a golf course.
Right. Yeah,
um,
you can get over some things if you're playing well.
Absolutely. And talking about the torque on the back, and that's not just the back, it's also going into the knees and the ankles and things like that. So, you look at somebody like Scotty Scheffler, and with his very unorthodox swing, one of the things I hear a lot is one of the biggest reasons that he does it is because it does take a little bit of torque off the back. It does take a little bit of torque out of the hips and off the knees, because they're not rigid when everything else spins around it. They're not stuck in place. It's all fluid and kind of moving. And obviously, you see what he does with his ankles. I mean, it's amazing he doesn't roll his ankles. But I know he goes through a lot of stability training, strengthening all those little ligaments in there to try to make sure that he is be able to be stable. Do you think that could potentially be a golf swing of the future to allow people to play golf longer? I mean, obviously Scotty's 25 right now, and so we haven't been able to, maybe 27 at the most, but so we haven't been able to see how that translates as he gets older, especially into his 30s and his 40s after playing professional golf for such a high level. But if he's able to stay healthy because of this swing with all these other golfers we're seeing with back issues nowadays, do you think other people could start trying to mimic it?
Well, you can try to mimic one thing. Um, like you said, a golf swing is a very traumatic, micro force that's happening. One thing for Scotty Scheffler, just remind everyone that he's an elite athlete and he has to balance in the proprioception to be able to do that as well.
Hashtag
So him
golfers are
taking
athletes too.
so him taking the driver and having the club head speed that he has and still being able to maintain his balance, that's a remarkable feat as well. But to your point, that does relieve some pressure. You think of your different parts of your body, they have a breaking point, they have a yield point. To you think of a pencil, you take a pencil and you bend it, all right, there's going to be a point where there's too much stress and the pencil is going to break. So you're thinking about it the same way. So if you're able to relieve some of that stress at the most violent part of the swing, then in theory, yes, that should lead to fewer injuries over time. However, though, people that don't have balance or proprioception that Scotty has, they can lead to another injury. So
Understandable. And you look at somebody like Will Zalatoris coming off his back surgery from last year. Not only did he adjust his swing a little bit, but he also switched to a longer putter. Now I know he was also struggling putting before his surgery, and he's become a much better putter since coming back and switching to the long putter. But one of the things I've also heard is it's a way for him to be able to take some pressure off his back because he's not having to bend over for all those putts. He's able to stay a little bit more upright and a little bit keep that back a little bit straighter, opposed to having that curve in it. Do you think there is anything to that for those that may be dealing with back issues, that maybe they should look at a longer putter as well, or is that something that's too minuscule to mess with?
well, any varying degree of change to the biomechanics of your body, especially with sport, is going to lead to, other gains. So whether that's perceived reduced pain, whether that's increased flexion, things like that, getting that feedback from the patient. But you think about the spine, it wants to stay upright. It doesn't want to be bent over. It doesn't want to bend back. It doesn't want to do all this violent twisting. You can think about someone who has a leg length discrepancy. All right, they're going to give them one leg maybe just a little bit longer than the other leg. Well, what can we do? We can put a heel lift in that shoe, kind of even the hips out a little bit, and that in turn relieves pressure. It allows those muscles and those ligaments and everything to be relaxed a little bit in a more natural anatomical state. And so, yes, if that's him having a longer putter and maybe even changing 5 to 10 degrees of his spinal flexion, he's able to do that, get back into extension a little bit and relieve pain, then by all means, yes, that is something people could do. Making sure you have the right equipment as well too. You shouldn't be 6'3", buying some off the shelf, equipment from Academy Sports.
No, absolutely. And you talked about fueling the body and being able to go. Ludwig Aberg absolutely came out the gates, rookie golfer, first time playing in a major, finished his second. And when he goes to make the turn, everybody sees he's eating the power bar. He's trying to fist bump somebody. He fist bumps somebody, and the power ball falls out of his hand. Do you think there's any kind of correlation between him not being able to finish fueling his body and him starting on the front nine, going -3, and then finishing the back nine even?
I mean, you could make an argument for that. I mean, carbohydrates, that's what's needed. So if eating a power bar, it's full of carbohydrates. It's a very cheap, very quick energy source the body can use to produce your ATP, everything you need for energy there. But um, guy like him, he should have had a backup somewhere, but I
Hey, rookies got to learn
wouldn't be
sometime, right?
surprised.
Rookies got to learn sometime, man. And then, you know, what are some ways that us as as you call it, the weekend warriors, just trying to go out there, dealing with our everyday aches and pains of life, or being a former athlete and having to deal with all that. The most relatable thing I heard all week to the Masters when Tiger said, "I wake up every day and I hurt." Like I feel that, like and I know a lot of other people feel that as well. What are some things that you recommend for those of us that are maybe dealing with stuff like that to do before we get out to the golf course, whether it be before we get there, things that we can do on a day-to-day basis, like whether it's working out or training or the stretching before or fueling ourselves before. How would you tell the weekend warrior to improve their bodies to be able to try to take a little bit of stress off of it?
Well, you can think of one scientific term that's called Wolff's Law, and it simply states the body will respond to the demands placed upon it. So you can think about progressive overload, all those different things there to how to build muscle, how to increase your tensile strength of your different tissues in your body. But remaining active, I would say, is the main thing to do. So if you got a desk job, if you're sitting longer than usual, you need to make sure you're exercising at least 3 times a week. It doesn't have to be high impact, but just remaining mobile, flexibility, making sure you're on a good stretching protocol, making sure that you're doing some type of resistance training because that is going to build muscle and also is going to build your bones. It's going to make your bones more dense, which in turn makes them more stronger. Okay. So you can spend 30 minutes 3 times a week. And like the saying goes, use it or lose it. And so, once your body reaches a certain age, your metabolic levels, at the cellular level, that is the best that you are going to ever be. And you can make gains and stuff different ways versus just being having an athletic skill. But everyone can go out, they can do some general work, they can do some yard work, they can go to the gym, do some low impact exercises, upper body, lower body, whole body exercises, and working on their flexibility, and that's going to play a huge part in preventing injury from occurring in the first place.
Absolutely. And for any of those of you out there that are looking for some training help or training advice, we'd like to give a shout out to our sponsor, Vols Athletics, who works with athletes of all kinds, whether they are 16-year-old football players or 50-year-old golfers, and do both in person and virtual training sessions to try to improve your body to handle the demands of the sport that you love to play. Now, James, let's I want to dive in a little bit to what you're doing now on a daily basis, right? So, working with college athletes, not only on trying to get them back on the field, which is what a lot of people think of an athletic trainer, is that your job starts when the injury starts and it ends when they get back on the field. A lot of people don't see the behind the scenes of what is called prehab, right? So you have rehab to rehabilitate yourself after an injury, but a lot of people have never heard of the term prehab. And so, what would you define prehab as? And what are some basic things that a athlete, whether in high school or college, regardless of what sport they play, can do to try to keep themselves healthy and on the field?
Good question. So I would define prehab as, and you can get deep into the weeds with that, but I would say just a program or a protocol, something that you are doing intentionally, you know, to allow your body to effectively participate in whatever sport and activity that you choose to do. Now, that can be more specialized. So if you have a history of, let's say, an ACL tear, then quite naturally, yes, you're going to go through your rehabilitation process. You get cleared by your surgeon, you return back to sport. But it is also wise to continue making sure you do not receive any deficits because, once you have surgery, it's never going to be back to 100%. So, we can get it close. We can we can check your strength numbers and things like that unilaterally, compare them bilaterally, and making sure that they're within 5 to 10% of the unaffected leg. But prehab also is important for athletes, especially collegiate. I mean, high school athletes transitioning to the collegiate setting. It's just important to know your body, listen to your body, not to ignore little small things. Little small things turn into big things. We call that a sequela. So you have an injury that's going to result from you compensating or from a different injury. One of my professors, when I was in college, he used to always tell us, I can sit here and I can mess up your ankle or something, and I can make your elbow hurt. I can literally go up the kinematic chain and we can make your elbow hurt. And so it would take a long time for that to happen, but it just goes to show that everything is connected together. If you're a football athlete, that's whole body. You're a golf athlete, that's in your entire body. Baseball, it's core, posterior chain, upper body as well too. So it's very important to listen to your body when something's not right. If you have an athletic trainer at your school, talk to them. That's what they're there for. They're there to treat and prevent injuries. So like we said, in the prevention aspect, that's your prehab portion. So that can be from stretching, getting you on a program. If you're notorious for having weak hamstrings or having hamstring injuries, then you need to be on a hamstring rehabilitation program, and you need to work on that. And it's great if you have some guided medical care throughout that to make sure that you're setting yourself up for success and minimizing the overall risk of injury.
Absolutely. And one of the things that stands out to me so much is especially something like an Achilles injury, right? How many times have you seen somebody tear an Achilles? You can look at Kobe Bryant. You can look at Greenlaw with the 49ers. How many times have you seen somebody have an Achilles injury of some sort, and the week or two prior to that, they had an ankle injury that they were nursing or a calf injury that they were nursing? What are some of the well, and I should say, I think that goes to speak to why you don't let things nag, right? If something's bothering you, then you got to go work on that because, I'm not an athletic trainer, but I would assume that if something's hurt, then it's weaker and you got a better chance of injuring it more severely. Would that be correct?
Yes, that's 100% correct. So, one thing in athletics, people's like, oh, you got to be tough mentality. Oh, you got to fight through the pain. And I always tell people there's a difference between being injured and being hurt. So, especially if you're going to play a contact sport, you're going to get hurt. A lot of times, there an injury that's going to prevent you from playing. No, but those are things. If you're walking around and your calf is hurting and something, they call them ADLs, activities of daily living, something you would normally do every day outside of playing sport, you're having pain doing that, you need to go seek some help. You need to go seek some medical, let a medical professional look at you, come up with a plan, to get you back to where you need to be, especially if you're serious about, playing at the next level and competing at the highest level that you're capable of doing. So utilize those resources. You got an athletic trainer, use them. A physical therapist, use them as well. You got a family friend who's an orthopedic physician or a sports medicine physician or something like that. Use them, utilize them, tell them what's going on. Seek help. It's not an emergency, but you hate for something that is telling you that, hey, something is not right with my body. You don't want to ignore that, and then you have a bigger injury, something that could have been prevented. You have surgery, and now you're out for an extended period of time. So, yeah, those are just things where you should really communicate those things. Communicate those things to your coach, to your athletic trainer, high schools, also to your parents as well. Just letting them know if something is wrong.
No, absolutely. I know that I have called you multiple times when I've had things bothering me just to make sure that I wasn't going to do anything to further upset it. Quick story. We were down in Birmingham, Alabama, and I'd been dealing with a foot issue that had happened the day we left to go get on the bus. I jumped and just landed weird, and I remember we walked down the sidewalk. I was in a boot down to the
The
urgent care.
UAB clinic. The
Man,
UAB
the UAB
urgent care.
clinic at like 7 o'clock in the morning to be able to go get checked out before, just to make sure I wouldn't do some further damage on the sideline that morning. And but it's those preventive things that allowed those things not to get worse than they were. I have quite the history of injuries and trying to be able to, whether it's stay on the field coaching or stay on the field playing, doesn't seem to matter. My body doesn't want to always work the way that it's designed to work, but I try to make sure that I do my due diligence of trying to handle those things before. I spent a long time with the idea of suck it up, rub some dirt on it, but then all of a sudden that thing just lingers and it lingers, and then all of a sudden it gets worse, and then next thing you know, what could have been a 2-3 week rehab and fix now turns into a full year-long process to try to get back. And so, I can be a firsthand testimony of knowing that when you're hurt and when you're feeling it, get it checked out. Don't just keep trying to work through it. Doesn't mean they're always going to pull you off the field. It just means that there are other precautions that need to be taken to make sure that it doesn't worsen. Especially, it drives me nuts when you got somebody, especially during spring ball, right? When you're talking about the football season that's dealing with something, and they just want to they don't want to come off the field. And so they just don't say anything. And then all of a sudden now, nothing happened during spring ball, but they get into the summer and it's never healed properly. And now something serious happens and they miss the entire season when it could have been easily fixed from just a little bit of rest and a little bit of rehab.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we see that. Let's say it often. I'm not gonna say it's a problem or anything, but that is some mentalities that some people have. I have athletes now that they may come to me maybe a week or something after the injury began, and they say, James, this was hurting. My shoulder's hurting. Okay, when it start hurting? Don't be mad at me. It's been a week. But I know that's one of my biggest rules. Tell me when you're not feeling well. Tell me when something is not right. I can help you. I can really do my job. I mean, I love all aspects of my job, but more than most, I love is the prevention aspect. And if we have something that we can manage and we can maybe modify your practice plan, your strength and conditioning plan, and we can modify those things and still keep you engaged with your team. So you're still learning, you're still able to go through some drills. You may not be going at full speed, but we're having a safe protocol for you to still do the sport that you love to play, while also getting that instruction from your coaches, getting better every day. The goal is to always be great, and so whatever you do, just go be great at it. So
Absolutely. Now, I know dealing with being the head athletic trainer, dealing with all sports on campus and everything that goes into that, but also know you've got a special place in your heart for football and have been the head liaison with football for the last couple of years. I think it'd be interesting to hear from for those that are fans of football that see it all the time, player goes down the field, athletic trainer comes running out there. What are those conversations on the field like? What is happening between the athletic trainer and the athlete when somebody goes down on the field and you're having to go out there to I guess figure out what's going on, and then what's your next steps, and how do you handle that?
So the main thing, that goes through our mind that we're trained to do is, make sure that they are safe. They do not have a life-threatening injury. So we're going to check airway, breathing, circulation. If someone's conscious and they're talking to me, all right, they're breathing, their airway is fine, and their heart is working as it should. So we can bypass that. But the main thing is to keep them calm so that I can gather information. Hopefully, I saw the play, or either someone on my staff saw the play, what happened, so we can get some information from that. Or sometimes a coach, saw the play and they'll tell us, "Hey, this here happened. Go look at this person here," or they come out there and tell us, "Hey, I saw this here happen." All that's good information, but it's really good to have a good relationship with the athletic trainer, with the coach, and with the athlete, and so that they trust you, because that's a scary point in an athlete's life. If they're hurt and they're on the field and they're unsure what's going on, they don't know how long they're going to miss. It may be a big game. It may be senior night. They may be playing for a championship or something, or a bowl game, and so it's very important for them to trust you and for you to have that relationship, and then to evaluate on what's going on. So I would say 90% of my job when I'm on the field is to make sure the athlete is safe, but then to also keep them calm. Because if it is something severe, we don't want them moving, making it worse, making something that we can immobilize and transport into something that, oh, well, this is going to be a life threatening issue now. Some of those things do happen, but um, it's very rare that it happens, but it's just something we have to stay prepared for.
Awesome. Now I know the big word that's been thrown around, especially in football, over the last decade or so, and I know it goes farther back than that, but it's really become a big hot topic is concussions and concussion protocol and people being able to get back on the field, whether it be too early or too soon or whatever it may be. Can you describe what concussion protocol is, and how you as an athletic trainer go about that with the athlete?
So each state, sometimes they may have different laws on who can diagnose a concussion. But here in South Carolina and in most states, an athletic trainer can diagnose a concussion, or your team physician. They can diagnose them. Some states have very specific requirements on which healthcare professional can diagnose them, which health professional can manage that concussion, and then the return to play. But I'll just speak on to my experience, every level that I've worked at. If there's a concern or suspicion that someone has a head injury, we're going to remove them from activity. We're going to do an initial assessment on them. And one, we're going to check our cognitive status, and we're going to make sure that, there isn't a deeper issue. We don't have a brain bleed going on, making sure we don't have a spinal injury that we need to worry about. But because of concussion, what is that? That's a chemical imbalance in the brain. So once you have a concussion, it's very important to listen to the instructions that your healthcare provider is giving you, and as one, it's going to make your recovery go by a whole lot smoother, and two, it's going to minimize your risk for future concussions as well, and also something that's termed second impact syndrome. So at the um, high school age, if your brain is still developing, you get a concussion and then you receive another successive concussion without recovering from the initial concussion. That can lead to long-term effects. That can lead to life-altering disabilities and injuries that could have been prevented if you were removed from activity, if you listened to your body, you reported to someone something isn't right. People say, "Oh, they got the bell rung." Well, yeah, the bell is rung, and they're also concussed at the same time. So, Well, we don't use those terms anymore. Or I'm seeing stars, something like that. But it's very important. It's a systematic process. Our protocol, and like many protocols, you're going to be symptom free for 24 hours. Once you become asymptomatic, within that 24-hour period, we can start your return to play. That's how our protocol is. And it's a gradual return. So we're going to monitor you through cardio. All right. You're going to do low cardio. That's usually going to be on an exercise bike. That way you're monitored. If you develop symptoms, we can stop. All right. We can start the next day. We can try it again. Then we slowly incorporate resistance training into there. The goal is to increase the heart rate, to excite the body, to see how the body is going to respond to physical activity. They're going to introduce some sport specific exercises. And ultimately, if you're a contact sport, you're going to do some contact. So, I mean, it's very straightforward. It's just very important that the athlete is honest, every single day, because tell everyone you only get one brain. All right. Something goes wrong with it, you can't get a new brain. So
Yeah, they don't really.
take care
I don't know anybody that specializes in brain transplants.
of it. Same. So yeah, I mean, take care of it. It's a very important organ. Very, very important.
No, awesome. It's as somebody that has gone through a handful of concussions and dealt with some of those, and the majority of them actually coming on the rugby pitch, not even on the football field. There's been times where I've known immediately, and then there's times where it's kind of I look back and we're like, God, I had a concussion, and it's interesting to see the different levels of it. And I actually went 19 years of playing sports since I was 3 years old without getting concussion, but then I had one bad one that actually knocked me out cold. I took a knee to the temple, and after that, it seemed like it was easier for me to get a concussion after that. I think I had four in 5 years after I took that knee to the temple. Is that a causation or a correlation that became a little bit easier to happen?
Well, there's still a lot of research going on surrounding concussions, and the medical community is still trying to figure out more about how to prevent them. I mean, you can see now in NFL, some people they're having those collars around their neck. They're playing those, and the thought of that is to limit some of the blood that's flowing up there to your brain. But once you get a concussion, it is, you know, that's why education is so important. It may also be the fact that, oh, you know how you were feeling this time, you know what these symptoms are, so you're more aware of how your body is responding to an injury, so you're more likely to report that as well. So just being educated on, oh yeah, this isn't normal to have a headache a whole day after I got laid out at practice, or I laid the boom to someone else. That's not normal. So I need to report this to someone. But yes, so studies do show that the longer that you wait to, stop activity and to actually seek treatment for that, that can lead to some complications in the future. With one, a little bit easier for you to get a concussion. But the good thing is there's no magic number to say that, hey, you have 4 concussions, you should be done with sport. Um, we try to treat this as a holistic measure. How are you when you present with the concussion? How are you recovering from the said current concussion? How are you receiving these concussions? Is there a pattern? Are you practicing heads up football? Are you taking a lacrosse stick to the head or something? Um, that you shouldn't. Are your helmets, up to code and all of that? So all those things come into play, depending on the sport, and um, each concussion is unique.
No, absolutely. And I think it's safe to say that there's no one single thing that you can look at and say, hey, this is going to cause a concussion, because for one person that has the exact same impact, it may be, absolutely nothing, and then the other person, it could be the worst concussion of their life. I think it's absolutely fascinating that the how the body responds to a lot of different things. within there. And one of the big things that you see with concussions, especially from the quarterback position, is as they get hit in the head whipping back and making contact with the ground, right? Especially the back of the head. You saw that with Tua, and you see that on a regular basis within, especially the quarterback element. Now, I wrestled in high school. I coached wrestling for several years after that. And one of the things that they teach you in wrestling is how to fall, right? Because you're going to the ground a lot. You learn how to protect yourself when you're going down. And one of those things is as you're going down is keeping your chin tucked in as you hit the ground so you don't have that head whipping back, right? And it's one of those things that you actually practice and work on going down, tucking the chin in, trying to protect the back of your head from hitting the ground. Do you think that's something that we could see more of? Especially quarterbacks learning how to get tackled, learning how to fall, how to protect themselves within those situations?
Yes, I mean, there's different things that are sports specific to help reduce concussions. That's why there are so many rules surrounding on how you can hit the quarterback nowadays, and where you can hit the quarterback at. And all those rules are due to a safety measure. So that's what those are in place for. So a lot of the onus falls onto the defender, who's going to make the tackle, just making sure that it is a less violent. We're not spearing, we're not hitting someone defenses in the back. We're making sure we're playing football as safe as possible. And, that's the goal. Sometimes it's not applied correctly. And, the outcome, you can still get a concussion. So, I mean, each person is different, like we said with that, but um, you can think of your brain as an egg, okay, and your skull is the eggshell. The yolk inside, that's your brain. All right, it's moving around. That's a violent movement that the brain just isn't. It's not designed to withstand that. So, but if anything, if they are able to tuck their chin, and if that's going to reduce that movement, then yes, in turn, that should lead to, you know, fewer head injuries. And you mentioned the whiplash, so there's a secondary injury that's going to come with a concussion as well too. You're injuring the cervical neck muscles and those ligaments there. So anytime you can minimize risk, minimize the movement, minimize range of motion um, in a contact of some sort, a collision, you're going to minimize injury.
Awesome. Now, dealing with athletes at all levels, right? You've dealt with athletes at the highest level of Division One football within the SEC and the South Carolina Gamecocks, but also working with the Arizona Cardinals and now Division Two North Greenville, and then also you've dealt with a lot of high schoolers that come and work camps, and I know you've worked some other basketball camps and things like that. So you've dealt with athletes of all ages. What can you say stands out the most when it comes to injury prevention between your top tier high class athletes and your average high schooler?
Your top tier athletes, they're going to do more than what is required of them. So if they have a team lift at this time and they may lift 3 or 4 days a week, well, your elite athlete, you're going to see them doing some other type of activity. You're going to see them maybe doing some yoga, doing a stretching protocol or something like that, or working on mobility. Um, those athletes who go above and beyond, they're going to have a correlation to fewer injuries. They're going to be able to recover much quicker as well. Those athletes who take care of their bodies know how to eat, know how to hydrate. They're also going to perform at a higher level versus someone who isn't going above and beyond. Maybe you're at a high school and you don't have a structured, strength program. You don't have a strength and conditioning coach. Some schools it's hard to, budget for that. So, but if you're able to seek, outside services, something like Vo's athletic performance, something that they offer, that would be good. That's good to do. So you can get that from a strength coach. You can also get it from talking to an athletic trainer as well too, and they can help navigate you through that process.
Appreciate the little plug, by the way. Now you mentioned mobility, right? And you see a lot more athletes nowadays doing things like yoga and going through extra stretching. And I know that because of my wrestling background, I always was really big in stretching and everything like that. But especially after I had that car accident where my lower back started having issues. I never had back issues before. And one of the things that seems to comment the most is when I'm stretching regularly and I'm staying limber and I'm staying flexible. What are the importance of mobility and stretching and things within that, whether it be yoga or other forms? And what would you recommend to somebody who has no experience in that on ways that they can improve it?
A great question. You can look at let's see, let's take a 2-year-old toddler and watch how they squat down and their butt can almost touch the ground. They're able to crawl and do this. They can take their foot, put it up to their head or something like that. They're very flexible. That's how the human body was intended to be. But however, as society, different jobs and careers and stuff change, injuries happen playing sport. A lot of times you can lose that flexibility. But you can look at different studies of different populations, and the people who have aged gracefully and continue to have their mobility. I mean, think about Gary Player. He's still able to swing a golf club at his age.
Hmm.
And look better than me on most days when he does it too.
He
So
looks
you
better
just
than
look at
me every
it.
day.
That's that's just a testament to flexibility, mobility. All right. And you can start small. You can start small with that. If you're trying to squat deeper, if you're not able to get to 90 degrees with squat, all right, well, something is holding you back. I mean, if it's not strength, then you may have an immobile ankle. You may need to work on stretching your ankle. That's something everyone can do. You can put your foot up against the wall and try to drive your knee into the wall by keeping your heel on the ground, and that's going to stretch your calf. Your shoulder, upper body athletics is very important to make sure you maintain good mobility in your shoulder, making sure all your thoracic, your core, all of that is stretched and strong as well too, because it allows you to support that joint, during the whatever throw that you're trying to do, whatever drill you're trying to do, a sport you're trying to compete in. But it's just very important. You look at the older population that are still active, that are still gardening, that are still fixing things around their house, that are still able to go on a jog or something. Um, One thing they have in common is they are flexible, and they devote time to maintain their flexibility.
No, absolutely. And one of the things that I think is extremely helpful for a lot of people is even though you should not and cannot believe everything you see on the internet, there is a ton of resources, especially on YouTube, of different things you can do. One thing that my wife and I would do in the mornings is get up, and when there was this woman that we followed on YouTube where she would just have 5 minute morning stretches, 10-minute morning stretches, 15-minute morning stretches, and it'd be targeted on different things. It could be lower back stretches, it could be leg stretches, upper body stretches, full body stretches, whatever it may be. And we'd run through 10 minutes of it. And, some of them are yoga poses, but it's not yoga, it's stretching. And I saw tremendous differences not only in my flexibility, but also in my durability. The more that I was stretched out, it seemed like the more it took for me to get injured.
Correct. Yes, I mean that's a direct correlation there. I mean, stretching the muscular-tendinous junctions where the muscle meets the tendon, stretching that aspect of it while also strengthening the muscle, that is going to lead to a decrease in injury occurrence. That's going to lead to you being able to go through whatever sport activity you want to do, and you're going to feel better about it. You're going to go throughout your day. You're going to feel better. You're going to have better posture. Um, yeah, I mean, it's just a win-win. Physical activity is good for the body, and no matter how small it is, that training volume, like you said, 10 minutes a day, that adds up over time. 10 minutes a day versus doing nothing, you're going to see positive gains with that.
Hey, something's always better than zero.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, that's and I deal with a lot of people within the training world, and deal with a lot of middle-aged people. And one of the biggest things that we work on is, like you were just saying, is just posture. Within our lifts, especially, we do a ton of back exercises, trying to just get everything stronger back there so we can sit upright. And I think now, especially over the last 20 years, now that we have so many people sitting in front of desk and hunching over, you end up getting this like little slouch to you. What does the slouch do from a physical standpoint, from a mobility standpoint? How does that add up if I'm sitting at a desk slouched over at a keyboard all day?
I mean, it's going to injure your back. I mean, your back is just going to tighten up. What are you doing? You're hunched over. All right. You're in that type of posture. Your posterior muscles, in your back, in your shoulder, those are getting stretched out. They're going to tense up because you're stretching them out, but you're not doing anything with them. They're just stuck here. They're stuck here for 4 or 5 hours out of the day. And then you got your anterior muscles. What are they going to do? They're going to tighten up because they're going to contracture. They're going to get a little shorter. And then when you go and try to actually straighten out, or you go and try to throw that baseball, and oh goodness, this hurts. And so, I mean, it just carries over. It's going to have shoulder pain, going to have low back pain. So office culture, sitting at a desk, it has detrimental effects on the body, not only musculoskeletal wise, but I mean, also physiology as well. So cardio, that's going to go down. Your cardio fitness, that's going to decrease as well. So yeah, sitting over in that posture, that's a no. It's not natural. Anything that's not natural is going to be bad for you.
Now, do you have any recommendations for those that are, forced to be at a desk all day, right? Because, life must go on. You've got to be able to work and provide for your family and things like that. What are some recommendations you have for those that do have desk jobs where they've got to sit at a desk for 8 hours a day?
Set in a reminder, to get up and move around at least once an hour. If you have an Apple Watch, I'm sure other watches may have this similar feature as well. Every hour, if I got a day where I'm heavy doing desk work and all of that paperwork, my watch is like, it's time to get up and move around for an hour. And so I have to get up. So today I've been standing for 16 hours. I've stood for 16 hours today. So I've done pretty good today, I would say. We got to keep going.
You got me. I
But
only have 13. You're beating me right now.
well, I was up at 4 o'clock this morning, so there's a difference
Yeah, so
there.
I didn't wake up till 5.
But making sure that you're up on an hour. If you're fortunate to have a standing desk, and it's okay to do that, you can get a standing desk. They can be a little pricey, but it's just moving around every hour, setting a reminder. You got your task for your work day ahead. Build in time for yourself. Build in time to take care of your body. Build in time to go for a walk. It may be a 5 minute walk, or if you finish all your work, you got lunch or something. You can go for a walk during your lunch. Getting up to stretch, like you say, you're waking up in the morning to stretch. If you have a desk job and that is taking up more than 90% of your day, of your work day, then you need to have a stretching routine. If not, I mean, you're just going to have issues later on down the road.
Absolutely. I noticed, especially over the last 5, 6, 7 years, there's been a big push in athletes to do a lot more stretching within, like, on their own, right? Because, we've always stretched before practice, but now you're seeing a little bit more stretching after practice, and you're seeing a lot more people devoting time to it. And I know we used to have um, optional yoga time in the weight room where you could just come in, they'd put up a yoga session up on the TV, it'd run for 30 minutes or whatever, and then people just kind of running through that. And there's definitely a ton of benefits to keeping your body limber and active, especially as you get older, and especially for those that become more inactive because of things like a job that doesn't allow you to move around as much, whether it's be at a desk or driving or whatever it may be. I know that even some of the long bus rides that we took, I could notice a big difference in how I felt after getting up from all of that and being able to move around. So definitely a critical part of taking care of our bodies in a way that allows us to not only perform on the field or court, but also be able to live pain free, which is a lot less frequent for people nowadays. um, in a world.
We can blame pickleball for that.
Hey man, I've been getting
That's a
after it on the
growing sport,
pickleball
but
court.
also very injury laden as well.
Oh, absolutely. Like I've been playing over here in the neighborhood, and we had a lady that lives a couple doors down from me end up just having surgery on her wrist
Yeah,
because she ended up going down and had a pretty severe injury there. And so, but at the same time, it can happen at any point in time. I've seen
that's true.
people break their ankles falling off a curb, or breaking their hand shutting a car door on it. Um, but at least pickleball is keeping people active. And for us larger individuals, I'm a lot better at pickleball than I am at tennis. It's a lot less to cover, and that ball goes a lot slower. um,
Yes.
no, absolutely. Well, so kind of want to hit a little bit on your time with the Cardinals. That must have been a phenomenal experience, especially for somebody that was. Now, were you a senior in your undergrad at that point in time, or you just graduated?
I was going into my senior year.
Going into your senior year. So tell us a little bit about that experience, maybe some things you learned from an athletic training standpoint, but also the way that you saw the highest of quality athletes that we have as football players taking care of their bodies, dealing with injuries, dealing with prevention, dealing with rehab, the way they attacked it, all that kind of stuff. What can you speak on about your experience there?
One, it was just, I mean, it's just invaluable. I learned so much by being in that environment. And like you alluded to earlier, being around the best of the best athletes. And one thing that I noticed the most is we're not going to break any HIPAA laws or guidelines here, but you think about the Cardinals, you think about the faces of the team, the starters of the team, the dudes. Those guys, they were, seeking treatment on a regular basis. And it's not because they were injured, it's prevent injury. Um, of course, they have the resources to do that. State of the art, strength facility, state of the art, athletic training clinic, and all of that. You can apply different modalities, and you got aqua water therapy. You can use that for. Um,
Now, I'm not going to ask you to break any HIPAA violations. This is just a question for reference. That was the time that Carson Palmer was the quarterback, and did
yes,
was J.J. Watt on the Cardinals at that point in time?
no, he was not.
Okay, so it was right before he kind of got over there and all that.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Carson Palmer, Larry Fitzgerald, those guys. They were still there on the team. But yeah, that's just. I mean, it's a full-time job being an athlete. It's you have to take care of your body. You have to enjoy what you're doing, the sport, you know, to be good at it, you know, every single day to be good at a sport. It takes a lot of time, dedication, a lot of effort. But yeah, just being around those athletes, they know their body. They know, hey, this isn't feeling right. Can I get some attention to this body part? Can you evaluate this? Can you help me out with this? And they've been playing ball for, you know, decades at this point. And so they know what to expect before a game. They know what to expect after a game. And so, I mean, that was just very interesting to see that. And they were also very hyper focused on their nutrition as well. They were, I mean, you have a team chef, make food for everyone, but they were very, very focused. They had a plan. And I would say that's one difference that you see from the NFL versus, some high school athletes or some collegiate athletes, they don't have a plan. Professional athletes, they have a plan. They know what they need to do. One, they enjoy doing it, but two, their paycheck there depends on it as well. So they kind of have a different incentive to make sure that they stay healthy at all times.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, in your office, you've got a picture up on your wall of your time with the Arizona Cardinals. Now, because I'm not there next door to you anymore, I'm going to see if you can't send me that picture so I can put it up right here for everybody to see. What's going on in this picture here? There's a story that goes along with it. Can you fill us in on the story?
Oh, that was let's go ahead and set the scene. So it's preseason, we're practicing, NFL Network is there, Kurt Warner is there, Jordan Sparks is there as well. And so you have all these high profile celebrities there. And it's just a normal day of practice. And my job at the time, I was with running backs. All right. So that was the group that I was assigned to take care of, make sure they were healthy and all that. And also part of our job, we're lugging water around at practice, making sure everyone's hydrated. And they did this script. And what is it? Red Robin? No, Robin or Rover? I forget the exact term that they said in practice, but what they did was we're on one side of the field and Coach Bruce blew his whistle, and then all of a sudden we had to get to the other side of the field.
That's Bruce
Well, then,
Arians, right?
yes,
Okay.
yeah, Coach Arians, he blows his whistle, and we got to get to the other side of the field within like 20 or 30 seconds. And I'm like, oh, I got two pumpers with me. I got to pull. So think of like a 40 or 50-gallon jug that's on wheels, like a dolly. And I'm having to pull that around. I'm like, I have two that's over here. I don't know what the other person was that was supposed to have the other one. So I'm like, I'm not going to ask for help. I'm just going to take it, take off running. And took off running with it. And lo and behold, one of them flipped over. So spilled water and ice. NFL Network is there, got cameras on it. I am embarrassed at this point. I'm like, they're going to fire me. They're going to send me home. I'm never going to get a job ever again. Like, this is the worst experience. This is the worst day ever. But it's funny. So then Tyron Matthew, aka the Honey Badger, he comes over, and he wasn't practicing that day, and so he came over and he starts helping. And in that picture, yeah, we're throwing ice off to the side. They're trying to squeegee the water off the field and everything. And if you know about Arizona, they have natural grass as their turf, so they roll it outside. They have a turf manager that works on that around the clock. They roll it outside in the sun, water it, do what they need to do, roll it back in. I'm just thinking, I ruined the playing surface. I ruined this field. They're going to hate me. But they all knew that, hey, it was a mistake. It was just funny. Coach was like, all right, we're moving now, put more yards. We got water on the field.
Oh, well, I'm glad they were able to get pictures of it. Now, somebody that likes to, I shouldn't say like, as somebody that loves to take care of their lawn as much as you do, I can only imagine somebody whose job it is to take care of it was thinking when they see 50 gallons of water now spread across their baby.
Yes. Oh
Oh.
my goodness. I was terrified. But everyone laughed it off. Even the head athletic trainer, he laughed it off. He tried to be serious with me, but he was like, mistakes happen. Just don't do it again. I was like, yes, sir.
There you go. Hey, and now if you ever see Bruce Arians again, he doesn't remember. You can be like, "I'm the guy that spilled water all over the private field."
Right.
No, well, awesome. So kind of getting to wrapping up a little bit. Kind of want to pick your brain a little bit for somebody that's in high school right now, and we've kind of talked about it a little bit. But if I'm in high school and I want to go play ball at the next level, what are some things that I should expect from a physical standpoint, from the change of from high school to collegiate? And then what are some ways that I can prepare myself both physically and mentally for the taxation that goes on within that change?
Yeah, so the physical aspect, there is going to be an increased workload placed on your body. You're expected to be a member of the sport team. You're expected to be an academic student, and you're also expected to have some sort of personal life, spiritual life. You got all these different things that are needing time from you. There's only 24 hours in a day. So first and foremost, it's time management. I would tell people you have to make time for yourself, make time for your body, make time to recover. If you had a late practice or something, you need to go and eat, and you need to do your studies and get to bed. Sleep is important. You need to sleep. Your body needs to recover to get ready for the next training session. Think about fall camp. That's where a lot of speaking in football terms, well, other sports as well. So you can think of soccer. They have their fitness test during fall camp, and volleyball as well. But we'll just use, for sake of examples here, we'll use football. Fall camp, a lot of times that's a culture shock, to a high school athlete. You got coaches. I mean, especially if you're in the South. I mean, we're out there in upper 80s, low 90 days, and there isn't a cloud in the sky. And it is hot, it is humid. And the mental aspect, the mental toughness that you need, the mental training that's needed to compete at that level, that's going to have to be improved upon. Because, like I say, it's just you're not going to get that in high school. I mean, you may go to a really good high school, very successful athletics program that may prepare you more than others. But when you get to the collegiate level, you need to be in tune with your body. If you are injured, you need to say something to someone so that, we talked about that earlier, so that you can stay on the field, so that you can do what you're here to do, to play the sport that you love to play. But another thing people need to be prepared for is just the mental challenge of that. Like we said, there's a lot of stress that is placed on the collegiate athlete, and they're role models for the community. They're role models for the university. They're the face of the university in some aspects, and that's a lot to put on the 18-year-old. That's a lot of responsibility to put on someone, but rest assured, if you want it bad enough, and you put in the hard work, you put in the time, you have a good mentor, befriend an upperclassman, someone who's a captain on the team. Make sure you establish a good relationship with your coach. Make sure you establish a good relationship with the athletic trainer, everyone who's there to help you succeed. Make sure you establish great concrete relationships with them, because you're going to need it, and you're going to need someone to be honest to you when you're not performing the best you can. Be receptive to criticism. You're going to get criticized from all aspects. I mean, you're going to get criticized from me if I see you in a football game and you're tackling and you don't see what you're tackling. I'm going to yell at you when you come off the field. See what you are tackling. So, I mean, there's a lot of people who are devoting their time, devoting their energy into seeing you succeed. And just take advantage of it. Take advantage of it. Take advantage of those resources. You go to a school that has a nutritionist, listen to what the nutritionist is saying. If you have a mental health, a sports psychiatrist, or a mental health counselor or something, go seek help if you are struggling, with certain aspects of the transition from high school to college life. Seek help when needed. Mental health is kind of getting the attention that it deserves as of late. But there's this, it used to be this negative stigma behind, oh, mental health, something's wrong. They're a little off in the head. Well, it's just like you have an ankle sprain, just like a physical injury or something. If you're not well, seek help, go talk to someone. I see that all too often, but I do think that it is changing. Our culture is changing. It's not taboo. You can talk about it. You can talk about your mental health. You can talk about, hey, I go to therapy, or you don't have to talk about it. It doesn't matter. But yeah, those would be my things I would advice that I would give to a high schooler wanting to go and compete at the collegiate level.
I'm glad you bring up the mental health standpoint. We talked with Kwame Livingston a couple weeks ago, and one of the things that we talked about there was how we felt like there was a direct correlation between his mental health and his on the field performance. And I think that's one of the things that's starting to catch a lot of high profile athletes' attention is it's one thing where they think of that it's a completely separate issue, right? That it's taboo to talk about, that it's, you know, that people are ashamed to say they're talking to a therapist, right? Especially as a male within a physical sport like football, right? And because there's a lot of pressure put on, especially men within that, to deal with problems themselves and to not look outside for help for things that can't be seen or quote unquote proven, right? And that was one of the things that I think that needs to be talked about more. You think about somebody like Wyndham Clark, who is potentially has the tools to be one of the best golfers in the world, but it took him all this time over the last 5 years or so to really get into a place where he's able to compete and win on a regular basis. And he's been very outwardly spoken about his mental health journey and how it started off with little things about him just being negative about a shot here or a shot there, and then it turned into this negative outlook on life and this negative outlook on himself and how he perceived himself in a very negative light, and how that affected him on a daily basis outside of golf. And I think that's something that doesn't get talked about enough, that's not communicated enough, that people don't say enough, that it's okay to go seek help. It's okay to say I'm not okay. And us as high testosterone males that are in a physical contact sport, it's extremely difficult to let your guard down and tell somebody, "Hey, I'm really struggling with this." What would you say to somebody that may be dealing with those things and bottling it up and trying to deal with it on their own? What's some advice you have for those guys?
I like to make it, I like to keep things very simple. Like I said, if you have a physical injury and it requires surgery, no one's going to question you. Oh, why are you going to have surgery on your ACL? Why are you going to have Tommy John surgery? Well, they're having surgery because something's wrong with that body part, just like your brain. I talked about in the surgery aspect, but if there's something wrong, you're not right. Your brain is not right. There are mental health professionals, mental health counselors who that is all that they do. That is their that's their specialty. They devote that's where their career is, and it takes a lot of courage. Like you said, in the environment that we're in and the stigma that's placed on it, it takes a lot of courage to one acknowledge that, hey, I'm not okay, and to come to the realization that it is okay to not be okay. And because no one's perfect, you're not going to wake up every day, you're not going to feel great every single day, and your brain is the same way. You're not going to be in your peak mental status every single day of your life. There are going to be days where you have much better days than you're going to have some days where you're going to struggle. But when it becomes a problem where it consumes a lot and it starts to leak over into your everyday life and your sport performance, maybe you're not as attentive as you need to be, or maybe you're doing things that are, out of characteristic. You're showing up late to meetings or something like that. Your grades are failing a little bit. Your personal relationship, your personal life is starting to crumble a little bit. So you got different areas of your life that can start to have a negative impact when you don't take care of your mental status. And so it's important to just come to the realization that I need help. I need to talk to someone because a lot of times you feel better just by talking to someone else. I'm blessed. My wife, she's a licensed social worker, and she's really, really big on even talk to a therapist when you're feeling good. Brag about yourself. This is going great in my life. I had this and I set a new PR and I'm happy about this. I'm in a good mood today. Talk to someone about it. It's really good if you don't have a good support group, get a good support group, get people that have your best interests at heart, people that when they know that you're not who you are on a daily basis, that they can come and tell you. They have enough respect and love for you to come and tell you that, hey, I've been noticing you've been acting this way, or I've been noticing this behavior here. Are you okay? And that's one of a good thing you can just say to your friends. Are you okay? Just asking someone, are you okay? Um, we live in such a individualistic society now where, like you said, you got to do it yourself. You can't ask for help. You're not a man if you're not tackling this head on. My cousin, she had posted on Facebook a while back. She gave this person a hug. They were in line, and she said they started crying. And she talked to him and said, "What was going on?" She said, "No one has never asked if they could give me a hug before." And something similar like that. Telling someone you appreciate them. With your boys, you have a handshake or something like that. Asking them how their day going. How are you? That goes a long way. I'm just making sure you're caring for people, and hopefully you have someone that can, in return, care for you as well.
No, absolutely. I had never been in any kind of regular counseling environment until I started going through pre-counseling, premarital counseling, um, with Taylor before leading up to our wedding, and we seeked a professional family counselor that we went and saw on a regular basis, but leading up to our marriage. And it was one of those deals where kind of as we would go in, I was thinking it was going to be laying back on this couch and getting asked all these questions and everything, but it was actually very eye-opening for me in the sense of it was a safe environment to just talk and to have somebody to bounce ideas off of and to have somebody to reaffirm the feelings that you may be feeling, and to let you know that that's okay, that's normal, or maybe it's not, and that's okay. There are other ways to kind of to look at it. And I'll be the first to admit that since then it really opened my eyes, and I'm not sponsored by these people at all, but I started seeing a counselor through BetterHelp, and I've been using that now for the better part of a year, and having a regular meeting with a counselor on there. And the beautiful thing about it is, they've got all these different people. You can read all their bios. You can kind of pick and choose who you want to meet with. If it doesn't work, then you can try another one, and be able to go through there. And like you said, just talking with somebody can make all the difference in the world, even when things are going good, but especially when things aren't. Just having somebody that you can confidentially speak about in a safe space about the things you're dealing with, and about the things you're thinking, and about the other issues that may be coming up in your daily daily life, because we're in a society nowadays where everything is online for everybody to see, all the good, all the bad, and the perception of what we're supposed to be and who we're supposed to be on there as well. You look back into the 1950s, the idea of what a man was and what a woman was very cut and dry, very black and white, right? And not to say it was right or wrong, in either direction, but there was a very simple stigma that went along, but those stigmas were all regionally based, right? Kind of within it. And then now you look at it, and people are a lot of times confused with who they should be, in a lot of different ways. And I'm not, going into, especially not getting political in any kind of way with that, but just the idea of everybody sees all these things on social media, or sees it, on TikTok or Instagram, or whatever it may be, and they think I have to be this kind of way, or I need to look a certain way, or I need to act a certain way, or I need to support a certain person, or whatever it may be. There's all these different pulls and ties that are pulling, especially young people around, and it can be very confusing, and it can be very mentally taxing, and it can be very detrimental for a lot of young kids dealing with all that. And so I'm 100% support what you're saying there. If you Even if you think everything's going right, it never hurts to have somebody to talk to, whether it be a family friend, or somebody that's older, or a counselor, or somebody from somebody like BetterHelp, or whatever it may be. Um, I just don't think that mental health in sports is talked about enough, and it's definitely getting talked about more, and I think that's absolutely phenomenal. Um, and don't get me wrong, I was the first one to roll my eyes anytime we had to do more mental health training. But the older I get, and the more that I've dealt with it myself, and the more that I've seen it, um, the more that I respect those that can come out and say that I've got a problem and I want some help for it. So definitely want to throw that out there for anybody that's dealing with anything. You're not alone. You're not by yourself. We're all dealing with something. It's okay to talk about it, and it's okay to get help. Now, James, last thing I want to end on here with you is we've talked a lot about athletes and way that athletes can improve. Now, for that guy that may be an athlete and had a phenomenal experience with an athletic trainer, or somebody that just loves dealing with sports medicine, and they want to go down the path of being an athletic trainer. If I'm in high school now and I know I want to be an athletic trainer, this is what I want to do, or at least this is what I think I want to do. What's the advice that you have for them? How do I go about setting up my career to end up doing what you're doing now?
Great question. Great question. I think I have an answer for that. Great thing. Go shadow an athletic trainer. Go find an athletic trainer. Go shadow. Go shadow them. Go see what they want to go see what they do. NATA.org, National Athletic Trainers Association. Log on to there, see what we're about. You can look at what athletic trainers do. I mean, we're a healthcare provider, allied healthcare professional, and been recognized since the 50s on that, testing my knowledge here. And but what we do, we're going to prevent, treat, diagnose injuries. All right. We work in many, many different settings. So you can, traditional setting is athletics. You can also see athletic trainers in a military setting, working on our service members. You can see athletic trainers in an industrial setting, working with factory workers or warehouse workers, preventing those injuries there. NASCAR. I mean, there are athletic trainers everywhere. Physician extenders, working in a clinic, an orthopedic clinic, working in secondary setting in a high school or the collegiate setting, professional setting. There are so many different settings an athletic trainer can work in. But there's some educational requirements. You have to have your prerequisites, throughout your undergraduate. Some schools have like a pre-athletic training or an athletic training tract, and then you apply to your athletic trainer school for your master's of athletic training. And all athletic trainers, they have to sit for the BOC. That's the board of certification exam, and that's the body. That's our standardized testing procedure. Some similar like the lawyers in the bar, things like that. You have to pass that test in order to apply to get your credentials for an athletic trainer, certified athletic trainer. And so that's 6 years of education there. It's something that you're gonna have a passion for. And if you love athletics, or if you love you want to be a helping professional, you want to work in healthcare, have a fast-paced environment, then it's a profession for you. If you want a slow-paced environment, it's a profession for you. If you don't want to work with athletes at all, you want to work with a more mature population, you want to work with the working class, it's the profession for you. People work with Circus du Soleil, working up there on Broadway and stuff. I have some colleagues and stuff work with them with that, and so um, it's a it's a career that can grant you numerous opportunities to travel, you get to meet incredible people like yourself. You get to you really get to have fun with it. I enjoy it. I love what I do. Very fortunate um, to do and to have a job that I enjoy doing every single day, making connections with people and helping them do what they love to do. That's my biggest joy and satisfaction is when if someone has an injury and they're able to come back and they're able to throw the game winning touchdown, or they're able to get a pick six that seal the game, something like that. That just brings joy to me when I see them doing what they love to do. And just to know I played a part in that and helping them get back. I mean, it's just satisfaction that I can't, you don't find in all jobs. It's not a job you just clock in and clock out. You got to love what you do. You got to buy into the environment. And athletics is just a close knit community. And so being able to be a part of young people's lives, seeing them grow over their career is just, don't know.
It's
It's
rewarding.
enjoyable. Yeah, yeah, yes, that's the word, rewarding.
No, absolutely. As somebody that's had rehab more times than I can even remember, and has had to rehab more parts of my body than I knew I had. Um, Having a good athletic trainer has definitely left an impression, and I can remember the athletic trainers and the experiences I had with them more so than I can remember the injuries I had. And the injuries are something I dealt with every single day, and those athletic trainers I may have dealt with for an hour a day for a couple days a week, but it was extremely um, influential on both my career as an athlete and my life in general. And so a lot of good work there, and a lot of takes a very special person to follow in that path and to spend their entire life taking care of others. And we thank you for all the work that you do within that field, and for all athletes out there, and all athletic trainers out there. We thank all of you guys for the time and energy and effort that you put in to your career and your passion, so that others can go chase their passion.
Powerful. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, James, thank you so much for being a part of the Double V Sports Talk. Cannot thank you enough for coming on and sharing your knowledge and wisdom and experiences with us. I hope that if there's at least one person that can get something out of this and can grow a little bit from it, then you're giving this podcast meaning and purpose. And I thank you a lot for that. For the Double V Sports Talk, my name is Brian Foles. This is James Anderson. Go check out volsathletics.com, our sponsor for this, for any of your athletic or recruiting needs. We'll see you next time. James, thanks again.
Awesome. Thank you.